I keep seeing a lot of over-engineered bog filters in containers. There's been confusion in my own community about the role of dispersal pipes, cleanouts, and just the general plumbing, so I'd like to explain my thinking and how I build my bog filters in containers. But if you don't already know me, my name is Kev, and I talk a lot about bog filters. But my main aim is to help people build and maintain their ponds without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, you might like to subscribe and check out the resources available at ozponds.com. For me, a bog filter has a few functions. It's my primary biological filter, and that just means that it grows good bacteria, and we can also add plants that help use up some of the leftover nutrients. I use a relatively slow and even flow of water so that heavy solid waste can be trapped in the filter, and that can help keep the pond cleaner and healthier. And lastly, I want it easy to maintain. I'm lazy and weekend pond maintenance isn't on my list. So to achieve those goals, we need to size the filter properly. This is going to depend on a number of factors, and if you're interested, I have a free calculator on the Ozponds website. You can find that here under free tools, or if you sign up to the mailing list, it'll be delivered straight to your inbox with some other freebies to help you on your pond journey. As part of that freebie is a pump flow rate calculator. Remember, we don't want the water blasting through the filter, as we want to trap heavy solid waste and we want some contact time with the bacteria living in the filter. So once you know the size of the filter and the flow rate of the pump, you can start to decide what you're going to build the filter out of. And for this video, we're going to use a container. I don't care what sort of container you use, as long as it meets your size requirements. And if you aren't sure why size matters, I'll link a video that can help you understand that, and that'll be down in the description. The container should also be easy to drill holes in, or already have some holes that you can use. We're going to need a drain hole and an overflow back to the pond hole. Now if you want to bury the container completely, you can, but it'll change the design a little bit, and I'll talk about that later. But for now, just focus on you want a properly sized container, a container that's easy to drill holes in, and of course you want it fish safe. Anything food grade should be fine, and you want to know that it can withstand your climate conditions. To bring water into the container, I come in over the top and take the pipe to the bottom of the container, and I just add a T-piece to that. That's how I distribute the water into the base of the container. No small pipes with holes all over the place, just a pipe straight down with a T-piece on the end. So everyone always asks, why come in over the top and not at the bottom? And there's a couple of reasons. Coming in over the top allows me to add a breather hole or a valve up higher on the pipe where it enters the filter. What this does is it stops the filter from siphoning back into the main pond if the pump is shut off. This can often confuse people, so I've made a few videos explaining this in more detail. Again, I'll link one of those in the description, and there's heaps of info on the Ozponds website if you're still confused. Another common query I get is, can I use a no return or a check valve to stop the siphon? And if you'd prefer to do that, go for it, but they've failed for me on a few times, and I've had plenty of other people tell me that they just wish they went the breather pipe straight away, but it's your choice. You can also come in at the base of the filter and still have a breather pipe, but the plumbing does get a little bit more complex and it's difficult to explain, and so I'm not going to do it for this video. Again, there's plenty of resources over at Ozponds to help you. To create the watertight seals for the pipes, you can use what's called a bulkhead fitting or a uni-seal. Bulkheads are great if you have a flat wall, and uni-seals can be used if the container is round. I've added some links to them on the Ozponds website if you aren't sure what they are, and you'll find that under the products and then the plumbing section. Once you have the holes, you can add in your drain valve and overflow. And I should have mentioned, the overflow has to be larger than the inflow. When the pump pushes the water into the filter, it's under pressure, and that means that more water can fit in a smaller area. When it leaves the filter, it's simply overflowing back to the pond, so there's no pressure, and so it needs a bigger pipe. And if you want, you can use multiple pipes, and that can look pretty cool. The overflow can also feed a stream, and then the stream returns to the pond. That's what's happening on this pond. There's loads of options to make it look nice, even though it starts off as a simple container. So let's recap what we have so far. We've got water coming in over the top, sending water to the base of the filter, and the breather hole to prevent the siphoning. We also have a cleanout valve at the base of the filter and an overflow that's larger than the inflow. Now that that's done, we can add in rock and pebble. We want void area at the base of the filter to collect that solid waste. We can use larger rocks to do this, or we can add in some type of barrier, something like milk crates, really anything that'll support the weight of the rock and the pebble that's going to go above it. And if you're worried if it's all going to work, give it a test drive before you add in the rock and the pebble. That'll let you check for leaks or any other potential problems. For me, most of the time, I just use large rock in the base, then a bit smaller, then smaller again. I'm not keeping lots of fish or messy animals, so the waste load isn't huge. If you have messy animals or high fish numbers, you may well want to artificially create a larger void space for that additional waste. So for me, this is one of the reasons that having an elaborate dispersal pipe system is unnecessary. We've got a slow flow and we've got plenty of void area. The water will percolate up through this pretty evenly in my experience. And then it's just going to overflow to the pond, dirty water in and clean water out. Pretty simple. Now there are designs when the dispersal pipes are very necessary. Like the Nelson's Water Garden bog filter has multiple dispersal pipes, all with multiple holes to facilitate an even flow through the bog filter. But it's not using different rock grades or creating a void space. The dispersal pipes also double as cleanouts. They use 30 centimetres or a foot of pea gravel over the top of the pipes. So in this design, it makes perfect sense to do it that way. It's actually really important. In the container bogs I build, the cleanout is at the base. It doesn't require the pipes to disperse the water. The void space does that along with the slower flow rate. That allows the waste to settle, and I'm not worried about my dispersal pipes clogging because there are none. Now, I'm not saying my way is better, I'm just showing what works for me and what loads of other people do if you believe the shameless propaganda that appears on the Ozponds website. But when I build an in-ground bog filter, I build it like the Aquascape wetland filter. But of course I use cheaper materials because, well, it's cheaper. In these filters, the principle is exactly the same. Water into the base, up through rock and pebble, clean water returns to the pond. But as you can see here, there is a dispersal pipe, and you may be wondering why. Well, it's more than a dispersal pipe, it's a very large pipe relative to the inflow of water. So it's more like a void. You can also add extra void space over the top to further reduce the flow and allow more waste to settle before you add your rock and pebble. Aquascape has even started adding another layer of blocks filled with filter media. Basically, different media has better surface area than other media, and that allows the growth of more bacteria. This way would also make it easier to clean. I don't mind this approach, but it might end up being more expensive than just rock and pebble. I guess it just depends on where you're at and what your costs are. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So the dispersal pipe is plumbed directly into the cleanout port. This is why the dispersal is very important in these designs. Because when you backflush the filter, the waste moves back down through the rock and the pebble and enters the dispersal pipe. The dispersal pipe is slightly angled, so all that dirty water and solid waste makes its way back to the cleanout port. So if you're still awake after listening to me waffle on, you're probably wondering, why doesn't the container bog need this? Well, here's my theory and why I do it my way, and you can feel free to poke holes in it if you like. In the container bog, when I open up the valve at the base, the water in the filter is creating a pressure and it wants to flow out of that valve as quickly as possible, and all that solid waste in the base is the first to get pushed out. But in the in-ground system, we need to suck the waste out with a pump or a vacuum, so it's not under pressure as we empty it. We can only empty it as quick as the vacuum or the pump's going to allow. So that large dispersal pipe is funneling all that slower moving water directly to the cleanout port where we can actually easily remove it. So in these filters, we don't want lots of small holes in a dispersal pipe. We want large holes or slots that will easily allow waste to enter the pipe when we do our cleaning. If they're too small, they may easily clog, and we certainly don't want that. Now, if you're building a container bog and you want to bury it completely and adding a cleanout valve isn't an option, you can still add a cleanout port, but you need to make sure that the holes are plenty big enough to allow the waste in during cleaning. And you will notice that as these in-ground systems get scaled up, there is multiple clean-out ports. If you want me to make a video talking about how I'd scale a DIY in-ground bulk filter system, let me know if that's something that you want to learn more about. And if you want to learn more about the processes that I go through when I'm building my ponds on a budget, or how I help others do the same, you can head over to ozponds.com to learn more. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. See ya.